Hi, my name is Stephanie Knight and I'm here with Casa Romantica. I'm going to talk about cocktails and things that you can grab from your garden to make a beautiful craft cocktail or a beautiful craft mocktail. So today we're going to be using lemongrass and ginger root, and those are both things that you can grow in your garden. Also we're going to be using pomegranates in our second drink and beautiful pears. So pomegranates and pears are both trees that you can grow in your garden, so it's so nice to have fresh herbs and fruits that you can have in your garden that you can use last minute to put some beautiful cocktails together. So let's get started. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to show you how to make a beautifully infused, this is what it looks like, pear and lemongrass vodka. Pretty simple. There's lots of recipes online. I've included some links and some other resources that you can look at on the handout. Again, it's pretty simple. It takes a few weeks, so it's not something that you're going to want to make your vodka and plan to use it the next day. So 1 to 2 weeks, 3 weeks is better. So let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a mason jar. This is a 750 milliliter mason jar, and you're going to use, I definitely like using organic fruit for this type of project because the skin, it's going to be soaking in the alcohol and the vodka, so it's going to be taking in all of that fruit. So for me, organic in this process is pretty important. So you're going to slice your pears. You don't need to slice them extremely thin. It actually will macerate faster and steep faster if they are sliced thin. Some people put them in whole, but I actually definitely like to slice them thin. So we're just going to add our pears to our jar. This is 2 pears, and then we're going to get 2 stalks of lemongrass. This is what lemongrass looks like. If you grow this plant at home, you know it has these beautiful long leaves, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use the core, so down to the base of the root of the plant. You're going to pull that out, cut the root off, and take those long leaves off. We'll use that later for our garnish, but this is the part that you want to use for your maceration in your vodka. So I have some already chopped right here. So 2 stalks of lemongrass to the 750 ml bottle with 2, I like to use Anjou pear. The Anjou pear has a really nice citrusy, very clean flavor profile to it. Other pears have, like the Bosch has a nice cinnamon, nutmeg, more spicy notes to it. So any combination will work, but for this one, because we are using lemongrass, I thought it would pair nicely. So you're going to put that in your bottle, 750 milliliter of vodka. It doesn't have to be a really top shelf vodka. I kind of use a medium grade. You want it to have a nice flavor. You might want to just sip on this. Go ahead and fill that up. You don't want to have any of the fruit or herbs exposed. Go ahead and give it a nice little stir. Put the lid on it. Swirl around again. And I like using a dark jar like this just because it keeps the light out. You don't have to use a dark mason jar. This one is, I did in the clear jar. So this is what it's going to look like after 2 weeks. So you can see the pears have definitely turned, they've oxidized and they've turned that darker color. The vodka is infused with, this is what it looks like. It's a beautiful kind of green tint to it. So this is after 2 weeks. I definitely always like to label my jars because sometimes you'll get a whole counter of stuff and you won't know what's in there. So it's important to label what it is and the date. And I just use painter's tape and a Sharpie. So that's that. And so you're going to go ahead and just place this. I keep this, I have a back room that has a marble countertop, and so that keeps it nice and cool. It keeps it out of the light. So just store it somewhere. You can store it in your garage. It doesn't need to be like in a cupboard or anything, but you want to keep it in a cool and place away from the sunlight. And give it a shake, a little swirl like this every other day or so, just to make sure that it's agitating and getting shaken. I do like to taste it after the first week because it might be good. I might have put just the right amount of fruit and herbs, so it's going to be a good flavor. So taste it after a week. If you still want a little bit more of that fruit flavor, shake it up, seal it again, and then give it another week or 2. And I just taste it every week or so, see how it is. So that is your infused pear and lemongrass vodka. So now let's get to the fun part and make a cocktail with this. So you're going to use a martini glass, a shaker filled with ice, cocktail shaker filled with ice. I like to chill these, so I'll just put it in the freezer while I'm getting all my ingredients out, just like 10 minutes in the freezer so it's nice and cold. Or you can even just, while you're preparing your drink, fill it with ice. It's a quick way to chill your glass. And so we've given you a handout that gives the recipe, and you're getting in your kit, you're going to have all the right proportions for the cocktail. So this is your handout, it gives the instructions, so you can just go ahead and go by that. So we're going to add 2 ounces. I like to use a little shot glass like this. This is a 1 ounce shot glass, and this is what I use. And I'm going to go ahead and pour it in this bigger glass. So we're going to do 2 of these guys. And you can be less generous, more generous. There's no rules. It's just about having fun, enjoying your favorite flavors. We're going to do 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Very important to have fresh squeezed. And this is a beautiful liqueur. I love this. So this is called Saint Germain. I don't know if you're familiar with this one. This is from the elderberry bush, the elderberry shrub, and the elderberry flowers are used to make this. And they harvest them, I think it's over like a process of 8 weeks in the French Alps. And the way that they macerate the flowers, it's just a very traditional, very special way that they make this liqueur. So this is one of my favorites. It's good in so many cocktails. Again, this has a nice floral sweetness to it. So that's going to give a nice little sweetness to our drink. And that nice floral addition that goes really well with the citrus flavors. And then we're going to use 1 ounce of a lemongrass simple syrup. So simple syrups are really a great thing to have. I try not to have a lot of sugar, but if I'm going to have a cocktail, I just won't have cake that day. So the simple syrups are a wonderful addition to add sweetness and flavor. Cocktails are all about the balance of the sweet and the sour. So you want to have that sweetness to kind of balance out, and it kind of takes the heat off the alcohol. Simple syrups are another way to use herbs at home. So you can make mint, you could do a jalapeno basil. There's so many different simple syrups you can make. Just get really creative, whatever your favorite flavors are. You're going to do equal parts water, equal parts sugar, bring that to a simmer. You don't want to bring it to a boil. Add your herbs and then let it simmer for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, is max. And then you're going to strain out the solids and then bottle your simple syrup. And I just keep it in a little bottle like this. Lasts about 30 days in the fridge. So there's your simple syrup. And that's all of our contents for our drink. So now I'm going to add it to my shaker. Shake vigorously. You really want that ice, you want that really frothy beverage. And I'm going to dump this out. I just love the way that looks. This is such a great cocktail. It's one of my new favorites. And then you're going to garnish. I just took a piece of the lemongrass, so the blade. I wrapped it around a little cocktail pick, tied a little bow, added a fresh pear. Voila. And that's a Lemony pear martini. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to our Pomegranate Shruberita. So the star of this cocktail is going to be a pomegranate ginger shrub. And I don't know if any of you have ever used a shrub, but it's the first kind of, I guess you could say soda or mixed beverage that the Americas were making back in the 1800s, even earlier than that. They've been around a long time. So the base is vinegar and fruit and some sugar, and that's how they were able to keep the fruit from going bad as the vinegar. It was a preservative, so it was kind of like a preserved fruit beverage. So they would mix this with either alcohol after the Prohibition. During the Prohibition, this was kind of like the cocktails. They used this with soda or tonic. And so it's got a really cool history. There's some information in the handout of the history of the shrub, and I really enjoyed learning about it. I've been making these for about 10 years now, and I really enjoy them. These are actually really beneficial. So I use turmeric, I'll use ginger root, you can use cayenne, you can use all sorts of things to mix with the apple cider vinegar. I like to use a honey basis instead of sugar for the sweetener, and any kind of fruit juice that you want. This is pomegranate, you can use apple juice, you can use blackberry juice, orange juice, whatever you'd like to use. There's so many different recipes, but this is a really nice way to have a cocktail, or a mocktail I should say, with some soda or a little tonic. This is so tasty. Over ice, very fresh and bright, and again, really good for you. Really high in antioxidants, immune boosting if you're using the honey. You can omit the sugar, but it's going to be really tart. It's already tart to begin with. But anyway, this is a great way to add something fun for your cocktails. So I'm going to show you how to make the shrub. I'm going to kind of do like the quick version. I like to use this, the shrub ingredients are going to be fresh pomegranate juice, apple cider vinegar, honey, and ginger root. And I like to use fresh pomegranate juice. That's how I like to get my juice. You can buy it, definitely. It has a different flavor in my opinion. This is also a great way if a lot of people grow their own pomegranates and don't know what to do with all the fruit, because typically it all ripens at once. So this is a great way to get all your fruit juice from the pomegranates. You can freeze it for later. Let me show you how I like to juice pomegranate. So I'm going to show you how to cut the pomegranate. So what I like to do, hopefully you can see this with the camera angle, I take a knife and I'm going to score it in 4 sections, all the way around, and then I'm going to go the opposite way. So I'm pretty much making 4 sections, and you're not going to go all the way through. Again, you're scoring it just through the skin. And then what I do is I go to the very tip of it and I kind of put the knife in and twist. And I like to use a bowl. Definitely you want to wear dark clothing, and I use a dark kitchen towel when you're working with pomegranates because they definitely stain and they do like to fly everywhere. But see how it just comes apart beautifully. And so what I will go ahead and do is I will take my seeds out, and I just do it by hand. For me, this is kind of therapeutic. I like this kind of work. For me, I work as a community farmer, so just spending time with the food that I grow and understanding, you know, how it looks and how long it took to grow this, you know, fruit from the actual seed. So for me, I enjoy, you know, working with my food to kind of understand it, where it comes from. And this is so beautiful. This was one of my favorite fruits as a kid because it just reminded me of like little rubies when you opened up the pomegranate. A lot of people say that you can hit it with the back of a spoon. I don't like to do that. For me, it crushes the seeds and you lose a lot of juice. So I just do it this way. So I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you get the idea. So there's the seeds. It works really well. Other people will put it in water. There's all sorts of tips and tricks. I just do it like this. I have 2 bowls that I use for my dump bowl, and then I'll put the seeds in a little colander with a basket, sieve basket like that, and I'll put my seeds in there. Another way that you can juice a pomegranate is just take your seeds and put it into a high-speed blender like a Vitamix. I prefer this method because when you do it in the Vitamix, you're also getting the pith, the core of the seed, which is a little bitter. It's nutritious, but it is bitter. So I tend to do it this way. So I get my handy pestle. And again, it does take a little longer, the steps of, you know, to do this part, but I just put on a good movie or some good music, and you know, my husband will sit and talk to me, and it goes by pretty quickly. And there's your juice. I'll just add it to this. So for 1.5 cups juice, you're going to use that size pomegranate. Typically the Palm Wonderful pomegranates are a good, you know, 5 inches across, 6 inches across. 1.5 of those is going to make the amount of juice that you need for this recipe. So it's 1.5 cups of pomegranate juice, 1/2 cup of a sweetener. I'm using honey, about 2-inch knob of ginger. So I've already sliced the ginger. You can see this is just, it doesn't have to be fancy. I'm going to put the ginger in my mason jar. I'm going to crush it with my pestle just to release those juices, bruising it, just opening it up so it can receive all of that great honey and apple cider and pomegranate juice. So just use the pestle, and then I put my apple cider vinegar in. This is 3/4 cups apple cider vinegar, and I'm sorry, I said a half cup. It's 3/4 cups of a sweetener. Give it a little stir. And then you're going to add your honey. I like to use raw local honey. This is from a local little farm right in Capitol Beach, and I really enjoy using honey that is local. I have some friends that are beekeepers, and once you get local honey, it's hard to go back to the store kind. And it has all sorts of wonderful benefits, so I encourage you to read up the benefits of raw, unfiltered local honey. Again, you're supporting local beekeepers and farmers when you're purchasing that local. So just give that a good stir. Go ahead and add your pomegranate juice. I need to add a little bit more pomegranate juice, but that's all I have time to use for. This makes about 20 ounces, so I'll have more juice when I get home. So that's it. So we'll go ahead and cover this. And again, you're going to want to label this like I did here. This is what it looks like after 2 weeks. It hasn't changed that much in color. It is quite a bit darker actually. So again, you'll want to put this in a cool, dark place. Give it a little swirl. I don't like to shake it just because it gets up on these and these tend to rust, and then it's hard to loosen it. So I just like to give it a swirl like this so I'm not getting the lid wet. So, and then you put that away and store it. Wipe it down before you put it somewhere because there will be juice on it. And then after 2 weeks, you'll have a nice shrub. And that lasts, gosh, in the refrigerator, I think those last for about a year. Mine never lasts that long because I go through them. But you can make a double batch. Again, there's all sorts of wonderful recipes on the internet that give you all sorts of different variations. So be fun, get creative, and I hope you enjoy that. So next we're going to make a cocktail, a Pomegranate Shruberita. So it's kind of a play on a margarita using the shrub. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my rocks glass with some ice. I love using the sphere. That's what the photograph that I included in the handout has the sphere. I make those at home, and I love having that sphere because it's just one ball in the glass. And you can fill those with all sorts of beautiful things too. You can fill them with pomegranate seeds, with flowers, with herbs. So fill your rocks glass, and this one's pretty simple. It's going to be some tequila. So this is 1.5 to 2 ounces. We'll go ahead and do 2-ounce shot. It's going to have 2 ounces of fresh squeezed orange juice. Again, fresh squeezed is always better. And give your shrub a good shake. And then you're going to add 2 ounces of your shrub. And I might have been a little generous on the tequila. So it's going to have a full glass. There you go. And then you just give it a little swirl with a swizzle stick. So I definitely like to use a squeeze of lime in there, and I take a slice of ginger, cut it on the bias, and then I just poke my little cocktail pick through it like this, add my lime, and then you got a perfect little, give it a good stir. You have a perfect little garnished Pomegranate Shruberita. Enjoy. I hope you like this, and I've enjoyed sharing these recipes with you. And please, if you have any questions, you can get a hold of my information through Casa, and I'm happy to answer any of their questions. Please, the handout that I included has all sorts of tips and websites and videos, some of my favorite cocktail books, so I hope you dive deep and get inspired to get creative and have fun making your cocktails and mocktails. Cheers!